We got to get out there. We have to be the ones shaking it up and essentially, taking over. Otherwise, what was given to God will be taken away from God. How do you think he's going to look at this nation after that? Because we will have let it happen.
We are ready. We're rolling in 3, 2, 1.
So I want to welcome you to Equipping the Saints, Sarah.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute
Can I call you Sarah or Governor?
Sarah.
Sarah?
That's great, Sarah.
Yeah, because as you know, she was a former governor of Alaska and also a vice president running mate for John McCain. Also the mayor. And so you started out as a mayor, but you know what I want to really know is just your testimony. And I want you to just share how you came to know the Lord and how the Lord called you to the government mountain.
Absolutely. Well, my mom she was from a big Irish Catholic family. So as a baby, I was baptized into the Catholic Church, and my mom was active in the church until she started feeling like she needed something more. And this was during the Jesus movement. And you talk a lot about Billy Graham in your book and as you speak. Well, Billy Graham, she started watching the specials, Billy Graham.
Right.
So at that time, she got saved, and she brought the rest of the fold in. The rest of us, of course, followed in. And that's when I was a little kid. And then at youth camp, I got doubly saved. I got filled with the Holy Spirit, and all my siblings, we got baptized in the coldest lake any of you guys would ever experience. And I knew at that time as a kid, I said, because I have Alaska, I look around at His Majesty, this creation that is so magnificent. And I say, man, if God is that creative, this smart to be able to do this that I see every day, surely if I put my little life in His hands, surely He knows better than I do what I should do, where I should go. It's been that way ever since.
So how old were you around that time? Can you
11,
share?
12.
11, 12, so very young. And so now, as you're going to high school years and going to college, did you know you were going to be in the government mountain, or were you pursuing another career?
Growing up, I wanted to be a sports reporter. I knew that I would do something in media. That was back when there weren't a lot of women in sports reporting at all. In fact, the only one, pretty much, her name was Willow Bay. And it's when ESPN first kicked off.
Right.
Well, when I got to college, journalism degree, political science minor, I found out if you want to work for ESPN, you have to move to Bristol, Connecticut. That was across the world, to me. So instead, I ended up having babies, one named Bristol and one named Willow, and people assume that it's from,
But a lot of people may not know, you played high school basketball, weren't you?
My dad was a coach, so there again, kind of had no choice in how my upbringing was. But it was so healthy. I love competition. I love athleticism. That's why I'm kind of sad to see what's going on in pro sports today. I'm like, man, take those politics and that liberalism out of our teams. Otherwise, it's no fun to watch.
Dennis Prager said something very interesting. He said, everything the left touches, it ruins.
Yeah, darn
And
it.
so entertainment or sports, I used to love watching the Lakers and NBA right here in Los Angeles. I could hardly watch it now.
I know.
And it just grieves me when I see, I love football, but when they're kneeling when the national anthem is being sung, what's your take on all that?
Yeah, because sports are so near and dear to my heart, I'm glad that you asked that. And not to drop names, but the other day, I love having visitors at my house, and he came to my house, and I'm just still so tickled. I'm starstruck.
It was an honor for me to visit. I didn't know I was going. But
another one of my absolute favorites, and I read about her in your book too, who came to our little tiny town in Alaska, Cindy Jacobs, and she's here, and I just love her too. So not to drop names about sports though, but the other day, some Seattle Seahawks came over for lunch. I cooked them halibut, just for the halibut, and we went down fishing in Seward on a charter boat. So these Seahawks, I told them too. I said, you guys, you have to take that out of sports. Don't you see that there's much less enthusiasm from Joe Sixpack, normal people like
Right.
me out there, but there is such peer pressure in that culture.
Everywhere,
That,
really.
yeah, really, that, too often, people go along to get along. And I always tell them, especially while we're out fishing, I said, only dead fish go with the flow. You guys got to do something different in order to kind of change what's going on. We got to step out. We have to infiltrate and influence pop culture, especially. Everything is downstream from pop culture. Politics are downstream from it. The economy, the way things are marketed, and the way businesses are run, everything is downstream from pop culture. So I want to encourage Christians to not hesitate when we have opportunity to get out there and participate in it in order to positively affect pop culture instead of shying away and letting them hijack some of the beautiful arts that are out there in so many different forms and formats. So I encourage Christians to not get out of those four square walls, preaching to the choir, and that's the only way that we're going to reach the masses.
Absolutely. Each person, you have influence in your sphere, and you're on one of the 7 mountains. And we talk about, for those who don't know, we talk about the church mountain, but it's the family mountain, which you're on, the government mountain, which you're on, media, you're also on that as well, arts and entertainment, and we have education, we have business. And so it's amazing how God has just opened up doors for you. Tell us about your political career, because you felt a calling. How did that calling come? Why the mayor position, and how did that lead to the governorship?
My dad was a school teacher, and we sat around the kitchen table all the time talking about current events, talking about history, talking about Americana. And there again, I thought everybody did that, that's the way everybody was brought up. So like all through school, I was always in student government. I was such a nerd, and looking back, I'm like, well, I'm glad I was a nerd because I had a good foundation then. I learned a lot about how government worked on that absolute local level. And then married, became a mom, got concerned about what was going on in the schools, and that was way back when even. Got involved in PTA, PTO, then noticed what was going on in my city, ran for city council. I was out there knocking on doors, doing it the old school way, campaigning, you guys probably drag a wagon with kids. I was dragging a sled with kids, door to door in the snow, knocking on doors. Got elected to city council, and I said, you got to be the top dog, I guess, if you really want to make a difference instead of just being one of many on the council. So I took on the establishment in the city, sitting Republican mayor, and I won. And then I won another term. I was term limited out then. And then I remember one night rocking my youngest daughter, Piper, in the living room on a summer night. And I prayed to God, one of those what next things, wow, is this the end of my career? Because I have today such a passion, to get in there on that government mountain and do something about it. So again, took on the establishment, took on the Republican Party, the sitting senator or governor, who was Frank Murkowski, won. And I love underdog stories. I love like movies like Hoosiers and Rudy and all those, where
Right.
The unexpected happens, and the
Right.
low man on the totem pole actually succeeds. Well, that's kind of been the story of my life too, but nothing has surprised me. And this is what I think is prophetic. And I don't brag about it, because holy moly, I've made so many mistakes along the way, of course. The mistakes I make are when I try to do it on my own and I don't wait until God says, I just go do it, and it's like, I should have waited. Anyway, I had 86% approval rating, the highest rating of any governor in the nation. I don't say that to brag. I say that to tell you, how far I fell. And I'll tell you why.
That's amazing.
And talk about God's blessings. I knew that I was supposed to be there in that position because things were going so well for our state. You have to truly have a servant's heart. You can't be in politics for a season, not a reason. It can't be just a business. And too many politicians and bureaucrats, they do look at it as just a business. They're making money off it. So as I'm governor and things were going so well, I didn't think it was according to my plan, but there I am, the youngest governor, first female governor, and I get pregnant while I'm the governor. And I didn't tell anybody because I was like, man, all these old sourdoughs up here, you know, they're gonna, finally elect ourselves a woman, and she goes and gets herself pregnant. How's she gonna do the job? So I didn't tell anybody I was pregnant until I was 7 months along. And in Alaska, you can do that. You just put on more and more layers because it's always getting cold. And in fact, when I finally did tell, and I first told in a press conference, a group of reporters, and they didn't get it, I said, well, you know, I've always promised to, you know, expand our economy and grow the state. I was trying to give them hints, and they were all men. Not one of them got. And finally I said, I'm pregnant. And they're like, they looked down at my belly. That's the first thing they did. So Trig, early on at 12 weeks, in utero, he was diagnosed with, he'd have Down syndrome. That just rocked my world. I had never been around special needs kids. My sister, Heather, her career has been working in the school district with special needs kids, and she happened to have a son who's autistic, very autistic, and kind of not a running joke, but sort of a narrative in our family was, oh, God knows what he's doing. He gave the special needs child to Heather because she knows what she's doing and she has that heart. Well, when I found out, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if if I have that heart. And my prayer the entire time was, God, change my heart, change my eyes so that, not that I didn't absolutely love this child, but so that I would be ready for the unknown, the challenges that were to come. And God just, best answer, most clear answer to prayer ever, because the minute Trig was born, it was like, yeah, this is meant to be. It's like God said, yeah, he's yours.
If you're ever visiting the area, we'd love to see you at one of our 5 campuses. For more information, check out our website or any of our social media platforms.
Welcome back to Equipping the Saints with Ché Ahn.
You know, what really impressed me is just how you are a terrific mother. Because my wife was a special ed elementary school teacher when I met her, and when I visited her in school and just working with autistic kids and the patience she had, it blew me away. And of course, we ended up getting married. And here you are with a special need child, and the patience and the love was just evident everywhere. And this is the first time I met you, and I said, wow, she is the real deal. I wish people would see that side of you as a candidate. So you were chosen to be...
Right. It was a really busy time. I had just had Trig, my daughter, Bristol, and she was another youth group girl. She was a good athlete. She was really busy. But she wasn't as busy as I thought she was, because she ended up getting pregnant as a teenager. And you can imagine, the governor's daughter, the Christian daughter, she went through so much garbage, and she still does to this day, and she's amazingly successful, and she's a great mom and a great businesswoman. It was a busy time in our lives. Then I get this call from Senator John McCain, and he's like, hey, you want to run for vice president? And I said, well, nothing else is going on. Sure, let's go. So that's how that call came. And I knew that, yes, it was right. I didn't bat an eye. It's just one of those things, again, where it's like, yeah, that fits. I'm supposed to do that. Part of that providential road that when you put your life in God's hands, really you shouldn't be surprised at the things that unfold, because God is so absolutely amazing. So right out of the chute, I did an acceptance speech. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I so believed that we could and that we were going to win. But things, evidently they went the way that they were supposed to go. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, God would not have allowed it, right? And I think what God did was, at that time, really wake up our country. But I think this go around has awakened our nation even more fully to say, look what you're losing, America. America was dedicated to God way back when. Our charters of liberty are written about and to God. And for those today who are running the show and deny that and want to change that, they're stripping away our foundation. And I believe that God has allowed what has been allowed, this huge, very, very, very rapid shift to the left. And if it keeps going, there will be destruction of our country. We will have a country that we no longer recognize. We were promised this, though. Barack Obama, as a candidate during the campaign that I was a part of, he out there, group of people televised, he said, we're just days away from fundamentally transforming America. I was shocked. We are seeing that fundamental transformation if we don't get out there. If pastors don't lead the fold, the shepherds, if they're not out there, we're looking for that leadership out there. We are looking for pastors. You literally have the bully pulpit. We want pastors to be bold. And that's why I'm so proud of you for what you've done with your church. And you led the charge across the nation of other churches saying, look what he's done. What happens when you see someone like Papa here, when you see someone like stand up with a strengthened spine, you can look around and you can see you're not alone. And then your own spine is strengthened. That is what we need more of. So when I'm watching these, these different aspects of what's going on current event-wise, and it's happened so rapidly, I just wonder, okay, you guys, when is enough? When will Americans say, no, we know what our foundation is. How dare we strip from our Creator what our founders had dedicated to him? How dare we try to take that back and change it for mankind, for some kind of secular use, secular enjoyment? We will have a nation that we do not recognize anymore. We cannot allow it to go on. Do you realize how rapidly things are changing? Anticipate that more and worse will happen unless we rise up. We say enough is enough. We do need to figure out how we're going to do this in unity. Okay, your book is so good. I'm not pandering either, but reading this book.
I paid her to say this. No.
Right. It's about the apostolic, of course, and modern day apostles. However, how applicable this is when it comes to conflict resolution and how unity can be created. Our nation needs to get together. We need to start, I think, referring to America as the United States of America again, okay? And you talk about modern day apostles who, again, we're counting on you to lead the charge, you guys, because such a calling on your lives is to create that unity, to bring people together. Divided, we will fall. Just like Abraham Lincoln had warned everybody, our nation, no foreign power can overcome America. No way. It will be from within that we crumble.
Right.
Look at history. Look at Rome. Look at these nations in the past, these countries, these areas, these cities that looked like they were untouchable, and the outside forces couldn't touch them, and they were safe. But from within, the infighting, the division, that's what created the atrophy. That's what crumbled them. That's what some people want to happen in America. That's why it's purposeful, the division that's going on. So, I don't know, are we gonna let them do it? Are we gonna let them fundamentally transform the nation that does belong to God? How dare we take from God what is His?
Amen.
And say, we're going to do what we want to do with it? I mean, talk about get ready to crumble. That's what's gonna happen. So, more than ever, Christians gotta get involved. And man, just forget about all this political correctness stuff. We know that, like Bill Johnson had said, Pastor Bill Johnson said, hey, if you don't live by man's praise, you're not going to die by man's criticism. Right. And I remember that all the time. I think of that every time that I see something ugly written. If I can do it, and I'm just a normal hockey mom from Wasilla, you all can do it too, and I encourage you, please do it. Stand up, infiltrate, influence. We got to get out there. We have to be the ones shaking it up and essentially, taking over. Otherwise, what was given to God will be taken away from God. How do you think he's going to look at this nation after that? Because we will have let it happen. So,
Well, I have a $1 million question, and you know, you had 80% approval rating. You've weathered all the criticism that the media was throwing out to you, and it's amazing the grace of God in your life. There really is a calling. Now, we know the Senate race is up for grab in 2022 with Lisa Murkowski, and I know that you wanted prayer for us to pray for you as you were praying about whether you should run or not. Will you tell us today if you're going to run? And if not, give us a reason why. And so,
okay, I need more prayer as to whether, you know, there's a female Republican who's already jumped in the race. Kind of the scary thing about it is I've been in politics, it seems like all my life up there in Alaska, and I'd never heard of her. So that kind of, you know, made me hesitant. And I do need prayer about whether I should or not. It will be a matter of, okay, practically speaking, if I feel that the state and the nation, but the state representing Alaska really, really wants me to or needs me to. And what I would do if I were to announce, I'd say, you know what, you guys better be there for me this time. Because a lot of people were not there for me last time. And that's why, characterization-wise, I got clobbered. I remember at the time, I don't want to offend anybody, but I remember at the time, especially during the campaign, I'm like, hey, I'm a Christian. Hey, Christians, is anybody going to defend me? Because I felt so isolated, you know, in the campaign. Let me give you an example, a story. This is hilarious to me still. I'm getting ready to get out on stage and debate Joe Biden. And there again, I knew 44 million people. That was the audience, you know, the televised audience. So I'm looking over there at Joe Biden. He's already getting ready, you know, to get out on the podium and do his thing. And you know, I am literally, physically pretty much alone, and I'm kind of waiting. And, well, I'm looking around for somebody to pray with because, of course, before anything big, you want that, you know, that providential inspiration. Well, you can imagine. I found no one to pray with. But there was little Piper, my daughter, in the corner. I'm like, Piper, come here. Right before I go out, I said, hold Mama's hand. We're going to pray. We're going to pray, keeping it simple. I said, oh, just that I win. This is a competition, that I win. And Piper just pray that God just speaks right through me. And she said, Mom, God speaking through you? That'd be cheating. So anyway, I'm just, you know, doing my best. We're doing our thing. And all through the campaign, though, I kept waiting. Hey, where's like a pastor's group or something? Now, Donald Trump did have that luxury. I'm glad people learned. I'm glad leadership learned. Hey, we got to be vocal about our support for this man, or he's going down. He's going to get clobbered. The circle of influence, that hedge of protection that came around Donald Trump, and President Trump and I talked about this, how absolutely important that was. And I know that I didn't necessarily have that. It wasn't public. I remember there were some pastors who, famous pastors. A couple of them, I remember writing me what a couple of my loyal friends who are still there with me through politics, what we would kind of laugh about. We're like, you know, tell them to save their little love notes that they're sending me. I don't want their little love notes. Can they like write a letter to the editor, or can they get on TV and say this stuff? Because fine, you're telling me, hey girl, hang in there. I'm praying for you. God bless your family. That's great. But can you go tell the world that, please?
Yeah.
So anyway, so overall though, I knew coming out of that campaign, part of my mission was going to be, hey, you famous people, get out there and use the influence that God has so blessed you with to get out there and be involved and to let people know that you do support and you do respect those in authority. Again, I'm thankful that President Trump has had that around him. He is so extremely thankful for it. He personally, obviously, you could watch the evolution in him. He's changed a lot because of the Christian influence around him, because it's been so bold, so candid, so courageous. I'm happy for that. But if I had to do that all over again, I think I would call out more of the leadership of the church saying, we need you. We need you guys.
Well, we're hearing you now, and as leaders here, we really receive what you have to say. And, we'll be praying for you, and we would support you in a heartbeat. And if not this 2022 to 2024. So anyway, I do feel Esther 4:14 for you, that God's called you for such a time as this, and that he's not done with you at all. There's so much more he has for you. You're just getting started, actually, because I believe we're going to see the greatest revival, greatest reformation, and we need seasoned leaders like you that have God has raised up, and you've had the experience, you have the intelligence, you have the charisma, the personality, and I believe that we can see tremendous progress in this nation as we return back to our Constitution and the values of our founding fathers. So thank you so much for being obedient to the heavenly calling.
I thank you so much. And that list of attributes that you just laid out, I could argue lots of points against those. But one thing that I do have going for me is I do have great respect for the positions that you are in, that Cindy Jacobs is in, because the spiritual battle that you all see even clearer than those that are, I guess, more immersed in the world. I so respect what it is that you do. And one thing that I do have going for me is I listen to you guys because I know that you're hearing from God. Those who have dedicated their life, their families, their fortunes, they have dedicated everything within them to hearing from God so that they can share it with us. We're missing out if we don't listen to them. They do hear from God. The good ones do. And they're easy to prove. I mean, it's like they're right all the time. You guys say, yeah, that happened, I mean, because some of us, we need God to hit us over the head with a frying pan to say, see, Sarah, I told you such and such. Well, thankfully, he does that through you guys. You say something and it happens. It's like, okay, I know I can believe them.
And we are so excited to see what's going to happen in the future and the days ahead with you. And so we're praying for you. And I want to encourage all of you to make a commitment to pray for Sarah, as she really is in the valley of decision. I don't know anyone else that has the name recognition, that has your experience. And so my 2 cents worth would be, I would encourage you to run because we need a godly Republican senator in Alaska. But I know you're going to obey whatever the Holy Spirit tells you to do. So thank you so much for being on Equipping the Saints and being at this Leading with Conviction conference.
Thank you.
Be sure to join us and all of our amazing guests for this season of Equipping the Saints.
In Luke chapter 6, verse 12, Jesus goes up to the mountain and prays all night. And when he comes down from the mountain, he calls his disciples to himself. He selects 12 and he calls them apostles. Why apostles? An apostle is someone who brings transformation to society. Jesus gave the Great Commission to the 12 apostles, and he said, make disciples of all nations.
If you would like to learn more or purchase a copy of Modern Day Apostles, visit cheahn.org.